My name is Micah Brink, and this is my 180 story, which is my personal story about how I was headed one direction in life, and Jesus changed the direction 180 degrees. Growing up, I was surrounded by Christ-filled people, and I would have considered myself a strong Christian, with more or less the right idea of Christ. Then I hit middle school and high school. Looking back, it was almost an overnight change. I was no longer invested in the Word, and I found myself creating my own counterfeit truths, especially the thought that I could do it on my own. These were my darkest days. I felt something was wrong, but I didn't know why. And I started blaming God for my problems, but not turning to Him for help. I became depressed, with no true Christian friends or outlets to turn to. During this time, though, I would have still considered myself a strong Christian, even though I wasn't really following Christ. Coming into high school, a Christian group invited me to join them for their weekly gathering. Though I didn't immediately join, I was drastically reminded of the unbelievable grace of the gospel. I realized that Jesus took the full weight of my sins and died for them. I repented for all the time that I'd spent away from Him. I no longer wanted to blame God for my problems, as I now understood they weren't from Him, but I still didn't give everything to Him. Through the middle parts of high school, I struggled with accountability. I was almost falling back into that mindset of, I can do it on my own. I began realizing that I needed Jesus for anything and everything, and that I needed to give everything over to Him to truly follow Him. The root issue with my falling away was that idea of self-sufficiency. I can do all things. Forgetting that last part, through Christ who gives me strength, was my problem. As high school was wrapping up, I was challenged to find an accountability group and to continue working on growing my trust in Christ. Going into college, I knew I needed these things. On my first day, I filled out a questionnaire with Cru and was warmly greeted right away. I was overwhelmed because this was an answer to prayer, and the focus on discipleship and missions were both responses to my searching. Never before had I given everything to Christ. Never before had I shared my full past. Never before had I fellowshipped with such a life-changing group of people. I am no longer held back by the sins of my past, present, or future. Christ is in control. As the spring semester was slowly wrapping up, I heard about summer mission. I wanted to let this simmer on my soul, so I prayed and asked the Lord to open my heart to it if that's where He wanted me to go. Well, He did. And I spent my freshman and sophomore summers in San Diego and East Asia respectively. I was drastically underprepared when I applied, but the Lord fulfilled every single need. Whether it was my nervousness to go somewhere new, share my faith, or live in community, the Lord provided for all of those. Before Christ, I was lost. Now I am found. My name is Micah Brink, and this is my 180 story.